The scene of this crisis is a natural gas field, one of Algeria's largest, deep in the Sahara, a field run jointly by BP, Statoil of Norway, and the Algerian State Oil Company. According to Algerian sources, the attack began at dawn when heavily armed Islamists ambushed a bus carrying engineers from the gas plant to a nearby airport. The attackers were driven off, but later took a number of hostages at the plant itself. 2 foreigners, including a British national, are believed to have been killed, and there are reports that the total number being held is 41. They include Norwegians, a man from Northern Ireland, and several Americans. The Algerian army is now surrounding the plant, and negotiations with the hostage takers are continuing. Tonight, the Foreign Secretary William Hague confirmed UK citizens were also being held.
This does include a number of British nationals, and this is therefore an extremely dangerous situation. We're in close touch with the Algerian government. The Algerian military have deployed to the area. The Prime Minister has spoken to the Prime Minister of Algeria.
The gas field at En Amenas is in the east of Algeria, close to the Libyan border. South of there is a vast and poorly policed desert region straddling Algeria, Niger and Mali, a region where a number of Westerners have already been taken hostage by Islamist groups. Now those groups have gained more weapons left over from the war against Colonel Gaddafi in neighbouring Libya. In northern Mali, Islamist groups have now taken control of more than half the country. France intervened last week when it feared those groups were moving south towards the capital, Bamako. France began by sending warplanes to bomb rebel positions in Mali. It's followed up with ground troops. One rebel group warned that France had opened the gates of hell by its action. So does today's hostage-taking show what they meant? Several claims of responsibility from Islamists have been made in phone calls to a news agency in neighbouring Mauritania. According to one call, the group involved is called the Masked Brigade and was formed to attack the interests of countries that are intervening in Mali. One call said it was a group led by a veteran jihadi fighter in the region, Mukhtar Belmokhtar.
Mukhtar Belmokhtar was known as the One-Eyed, and he was one of the members of the Salafist group for preaching in combat, which was the predecessor to the new Al-Qaeda of the Islamic Maghreb. So he's a part of the group and apparently has defected, or maybe he's just spread a little bit of power into Mali. We know that the groups in Algeria, the Salafist violent groups, have links with the groups in Mali and Niger.
There's no proof yet that the North African affiliate of Al-Qaeda is behind today's hostage-taking, but many believe that it is, and that the motivation is clear.
It's a direct consequence of the French intervention in the ongoing crisis in Mali, and dare I say, it's no coincidence that it's happened in Algeria. Algeria has long warned against an intervention in Mali, but over recent weeks it has openly supported the French intervention, and it seems that it's a revenge attack against such a support.
Today in Mali, civilians were fleeing the combat zone where France says its infantry will be fighting within hours, despite the crisis in Algeria.
Je suis en liaison permanente.
I am in constant contact with the Algerian authorities who are doing and will do everything that is needed. We are also in contact with the heads of state and government of the countries concerned. All this is not without a connection, as everyone will have understood, to the operation that we are undertaking.
Meanwhile, the EU has said it will speed up deployment of military trainers, including summits expected from Britain, to work with West African forces in Mali. It's a show of support for France, taken in the face of what many believe is a growing risk to Western security from North and West Africa.
This attack against Western interests and against Western lives in particular will have huge consequences on the whole region. The global war on terror, which has so far focused on countries like Iraq and indeed Afghanistan, is now shifting in Africa, and it means that a new front in the war on terror has now opened in that part of the world.
The operation in Mali is intended to reduce the terrorist threat to European interests. But as the crisis continues in Algeria, some think it'll do the opposite.